Hello everyone, welcome back. I guess it's an interesting title. Well, the narrow path. It's about understanding that this journey that you're doing, it's it has certain, not just no limitation, but like constriction. It's constricted by this reality. That's why it's called the narrow path. Moving from one reality to another, it's a tricky thing, especially in a reality like this one, which is not free. But what do I mean by the narrow path? I mean, like, what I'm trying to say with this. I've been asked throughout the years. I was like, why don't I make I don't know, classes, extra classes besides these videos? And I was like, one, these are classes, if you want. The books, these videos, the blog posts, they are what they need to be in a way that they can maintain the aliveness and their true scope, like the purpose of why these things are being done. Because of this, I haven't really focused. I didn't actually have time to do any other things. I mean, besides these things, because this is about something else. One of the reasons why actually ashrams or I don't know, spiritual communities where they gather around a certain person or a certain idea, certain ideology, doctrine, spiritual teachings, usually don't work long term, is because people are focused on getting and acquiring an intellectual knowledge, and they think that that's it. And yes, you might be able, maybe if you're at the beginning of your journey, you might feel like, oh, I'm with my tribe and I'm doing these things and I'm learning a bit about meditation and this and that. I'm learning about this concept. I might have a little insight here and there. But then inside these communities will rise there will be power struggles and things like that. And people forget actually why they are there in the first place. So I guess the why it's been so hard for other teachers in the past, genuine teachers that were in the past to do certain things for humanity, was the fact that people try to make a truth, a universal truth from source, something which is not. And because the awareness of most people, it's at the level where it tries to grab it to its own level, what it is, instead of like reaching towards where that thing is coming from. So then that idea that truth becomes prisoner to, is drawn to brought to the level of where the most minds are, and turned into something that is not. So that's what actually the biggest challenge, I guess, of all the spiritual, real, genuine spiritual teachers and teachings and ideas and, I don't know, doctrines, if you want, body of knowledge, is how to be implemented correctly to get to the scope of those things, how it's like to get to what they're supposed to, to get out of them what they were done for, created for, expressed. So that's one of the reasons why I know that it's impossible. And at this point in time, it's not about, we're supposed to come together, yes, but we're supposed to come together when everyone has reached a level of purification of mind, the body, and your heart, where those things are not blocked by traumas, by guilt, by blame, by fear, and the coming together will happen naturally, and we say correctly, then when there's that space where the mind has reached a certain level where those things can be done correctly, and then you understand, oh, it's not about this, oh, it's not about that. So that's why it's called the narrow path. Being on this path, which I am, moving from one reality to another, it's about releasing the weight of this reality. And what does this mean? When you're born into this reality, you are passed on certain beliefs, like ancestral things in your genes. So that's already, you carry the luggage, the baggage of your whatever ancestors, through your whatever bloodline, from your parents, from their parents, from their parents and parents, and so on. And then you acquire your own beliefs, set of beliefs, things that actually these things, well, become things inside you. There become walls. There's the things that they create this architecture inside you, what's possible, what's not possible, how things are, like this is like this is like that. So it defines your reality in the most concrete and real way. And that's the hardest to dismantle, when that's what you've known all your life, and especially when you see outside yourself that's being constantly reflected. You say, no, that's how it is. Look, it's cruel. It's like, yeah, it is cruel, but it's like, what if actually we can break away from that cruelness and absurdity, which has been the hardest thing to get away from, especially for me, the cruelty and the absurdity done for no reason, and to forgive that. That's another thing, the forgiveness, because one of the trickiest things is like to get rid of all this. It's like the weight of this reality is to be able to forgive absurd and cruel things, especially done for no reason. And it's been especially hard for me because of how I am, and to get there, you need to do this process of cleaning yourself. There's no other way. There's just no other way. This is like restarting everything manually until you get to a point where you don't need to do that. And well, from a certain point, things change, and they're done much more easily because you have access to other things. So even the clearing, even this, it will become more fluid automatically, and it's kind of like more. Less than how it used to be done, let's say, manually. But in order to get there, you have to start where you are, regardless of the context. But I'm in this situation. Exactly, it's the perfect context to actually start the journey. You're not supposed to run away from anywhere, from whatever you are. You're supposed to actually face those fears, face those demons, face those monsters that scare you. And it can take a while until you finally understand that, I have to stand my ground. And it takes a lot of work to be able to actually first stand your ground and claim the right to exist, which I had to do. And until then, you are kind of like being pushed around, whatever, thrown at in different directions by people, by situations, and it's like, but I wanted to go that way, but life's like, no, I'm gonna push you, whatever. Actually, there's the distortion, but you are going to try to find a place, a solid base, but you won't find that solid base until you actually claim the true power, the right, I said, the right to exist. Something that only you come from source. So those things, well, nobody can and should take that right from you. But in order to get to that point where you do that, it's a lot of work. And then there's also all sorts of things interesting happening inside yourself as you're doing the cleaning process. I mean, like I said, depends on codes and. But sorry, going back to a little bit to what I said about why things don't work as they should. It's like when people ask, it's like, well, I want to be in this community, I want to be with the group, to do, I don't know, be with my tribe and do those things. They don't work because people, even like I said, even if they go and absorb certain concepts, certain things, they haven't really done the work. Even if you do a little bit of meditation here, you have do a silence, you're in silence mode for 2 weeks or whatever, and then you go back to your life and you do not continue in a way that actually the process of, like I said, the purify the heart, the mind, the body. And that's a real process. And being in a community like that, you do not have really the space to do that, although people think that, oh, coming together is going to help us. Temporarily it might, but in a long term, that's what I've noticed is like people start to like I said, it's not because people are bad, but like I said, there's the distortion. Whatever you have inside you, the distortion will use everything what's there against you to derail you, to make you compliant, to just go to sleep or whatever. So that's why I insist on the cleaning process. Do that wherever you are, in whatever context of life you are, because when you do that, you anchor, you get power from that, and then that thing cannot be taken away from you. So it's not an artificial context, because this reality, it is what it is. So if you want to like break out of it, you kind of like, okay, right, first I'm standing my ground, and then I'm getting power, true power to actually raise it and move beyond it in a way that it's like I'm not running away from it, and I'm actually, I outgrow it, I overpower, so to say, I overpower it, like I go above it. And this is not an easy process to do that. Most people feel intimidated by the challenges, the obstacles that are thrown at them. I've been one of them, but then again, I'm also very persistent. So it's very discouraging when those things non-stop are thrown at you, and even more so when you're doing the right things. So it's very discouraging. It's like, but I wish I would be in a group so I could actually feel safe. So there's this, like I said, there's a trap there. Although you think, oh, if I'm going to be with my group, with whatever, it's going to be easier for a while. But then you need those contexts, you need those things to find the space inside yourself to clear those things, because you will start to discover the definitions. There's going to be coming like statements, context, where those things have been crystallized inside yourself, and then you're going to need situations that those things again are going to resurface, and then if you are conscious enough, you'll be able to, it's like, I know what you are, and you're going to start to clean. And then, like I said, they come in cycles, and then you clean a little bit as much as you can for now, and then it will resurface at some point later on, whenever that thing is trying to use it against you. It's like, oh, thanks, you show me that I need to clean here, while in the meantime you cleaned in many other parts of yourself. And this can be very discouraging for most people, because there's like, I'm not doing the right thing. And like I said, the way spirituality and all these things is portrayed is like something that's perfect and whatever. And there's nothing more imperfect than this reality. And that's what you have to work with this complete imperfection, so to speak. And once you accept this, then you accept the fact that I cannot go and hide forever. Then I really have to stay here and find a way, which is the standing your ground thing, find a way where I can actually lay my foundation, true foundation, upon which I can rebuild myself and my life in a way that neither this or that or the other thing or whatever system and this and that can actually ever destroy me, derail me, isolate me, whatever, confuse me, take away my dignity and whatever. So it's not an easy thing. And that's why I don't encourage, or I don't necessarily always say offer these things where like maybe in the future I will have some meetups or whatever, but like no, right now it's about this process that it's completely personal. And unless you've done enough work to see what I'm talking about, there's no point in doing that, because it's like confuses, like gets even more frustrated. Yeah, sometimes it's better to explain certain, I mean, it's great to meet or when I have one-on-one when I respond to some of you, and I'm giving you some tips, or I don't even actually think of them as tips. I just see them as for what they are. Actually, it's like how you get from here to there. So that's why for me it's like to give tips. It's just ridiculous. It's because I'm not interested in like creating something like an ongoing, I don't know how to call this, a thing that leads nowhere, just to maintain a situation like, oh, I'm in a position to give you tips. I was like, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in actually getting over there and mind my own like business, so to speak. It's like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know why I'm giving you these things and write about this, whatever other things, as part of what I'm supposed to do. But there's many other things that I want to do, I've done, and I'm not really interested in necessarily having people like following me for the wrong reason. I have zero need and zero desire to do that. But I'm interested in actually in like people and really hear me out. So that's the trickiest part, is like to hear me out, really listen to what I'm saying. Because I know this is most of the time it's not really understood, or it's taken for granted, or like whatever she says is not really that important, or it's underestimated most of the time. And I'm completely like, I get it why these things happen. That doesn't mean it's fun or it's frustrating, but I know why things are the way they are. Which brings me to that thing, what I said earlier about forgiveness. Why it's so hard to forgive. To forgive something that seemed absurd and cruel for no reason. Things that are absurd and cruel for no reason. Is because those things are meant to, those situations that are given by the distortion, first of all, and those behind the distortion, to constantly deny the awareness of the truth and to break free from it. So it will be cruel, it will be absurd, because the way we are built inside ourselves, we don't necessarily think to do those things. And when you don't have context that you can release that situation, that whatever trauma, it's very hard to get rid of it. So you carry that weight, you carry that luggage with you years and years, and it's like, and it's like it's there, and it's just always grabbing your attention, especially in certain situations that remind you of that certain problem situation that happened. But with the right intention and continuously cleaning and clearing, going to the bottom of things, you will eventually reach certain context, certain situation where directly or indirectly you will be given, or you will have that space, that situation where you can finally let go of that. Because first it starts with a realization inside yourself, which is a real thing. That it's like, oh, so those people saying that thing and doing that thing is because, well, first of all, they didn't know what they're doing. I mean, even if you think that they did, but they themselves, through their own things inside themselves, have been easily, say, manipulated by the distortion to be like that, to say those things, to do those things. And you just receive something through someone that was unconscious. That's the gate through which this distortion actually works, is our own unconsciousness, like the holes, the wounds, the things, the parts that are hidden in our body, in our soul, that haven't received love, haven't received the light to be brought to the surface. And then these are used whenever, if ever the situation arises, so then you received another punch, be slapped in the face. So that thing can continues like remind you, no, you're still there. You're not going to go, you're not going to get out of here. You'll still be here. And that's very, very discouraging. And I understand why most people are like, because, well, I've been there, but like I said, I'm very persistent. There's literally no way other than going through this cleaning process to clean enough to get to that point where you have these realizations that will be real things inside yourself, where you feel that those things are gone from you, and then your real magic starts to express. The wonderful things start to express, and things that I've talked about before. But like I said, people expect, like I said, either someone to solve their problem, or go to, like I said, to a group of like take me and release me of my own problems, and it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. I wish it did in some cases, but it really doesn't. What someone with more light and understanding can offer is the space for us to be heard and to be understood. Like, oh, why am I the way I am? It's like that, be contained. But from there is still a lot of work to go through in releasing the weight of these beliefs, of this reality, because that's the trap. The trap of this reality is the belief, the weight of the beliefs formed through your experiences and also what you've inherited in your genes. So there's a lot to be released. That's the biggest problem. It seems impossible, and it's, for most people at this point, it's still impossible. But like I said, this impossibility is because, one, people have lost their innocence. And they expect that things to be done in a way that, like, hey, on fast forward, and like, I don't know, it's like I said, most people where I see right now is just running in all sorts of direction. I understand that everyone's trying to survive, especially with the context that we have right now. And instead of running in all directions, you should stop. You should stop, and it might be scary when you stop, but that's when the real journey begins. And that's why it's called the narrow path, because your action and what you do, it might not seem logical for other minds and other people around you, especially for those that have known you in your life, and they feel like you're not the same person. Oh, I'm not the same person. Or maybe I was, but you didn't know that I'm different. Or I didn't have the courage to show you that, or I didn't have the space to express that. And all of a sudden you have the space, these things that the wounds, the trauma, like rise to the surface, and it's unpleasant, and it feels like you're in the desert of life. And usually you're put in a context, either if not totally isolated, but partially isolated, in a way that where you feel like you're completely disconnected from life, in order for you to actually basically get that trash to the surface and look at it. It's like, there's trash here, and you have to then, it's like, well, not you have to, because in the end you don't have to do anything, but if you really desire to move beyond this reality and experience truth and true freedom, you will have to do this work. It's like I said, no one is excused. And it's what I call it, why is narrow, is because what it asks of you is like this path. Sometimes it feels like you're walking on a very thin line. Whatever your actions and the possibilities that you have in front of you to move forward are very, very narrow. And it makes it unbearable at times. and but there's no way out. But the truth and magic and other things, wonderful things, and love are waiting on the other side of this narrowness. Yeah. Anyways, I hope this was interesting and helpful. See you next time. Ciao. It's actually embracing all these imperfections and working with them and see